How can you pull your future rich self into your present life as fast as possible without it costing too much? In this video, I'll give you 7 ideas on how you can live a rich life without actually being rich yet. After all, treating yourself better will not only be good for your health, but the highest return is investing in yourself, or the S and me rather than the S and P. And these ideas won't bankrupt you or drastically slow down your growth. In fact, they should propel you forward on your path to prosperity. Not only financial independence, but financial abundance. The first and probably most important thing you can do to propel you towards that rich life is to smash that like button and subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. It's totally free, helps the algorithm, and it would mean so much to me. Without further ado, here are 7 tips on how to live a rich life when you're not yet rich. So I personally love movies. Even 20 years ago, when I was barely 18, one of the first things I did was I bought the equivalent of a movie pass. So it could be that you have a favorite cinema you go to and they might have an actual deal, or you could go to, for instance, something general like the movie pass. Now this gives you access to watching movies very, very cheaply, especially if you're trying to go to see a lot of movies in a month. It usually works out that once you see about 2 or more movies in a single month, that it's cheaper to do it this way. It really felt like I was wealthy, even when I was only 18, just getting something like a movie pass to me. This just saved a lot of money, especially when I was that age, going through college, going out with friends, etc. So that's one thing you could do that doesn't cost you as much as you think. It usually breaks down to about $20 a month or thereabouts. But going above and beyond MoviePass, think about the luxury that some people have when they have their home cinema systems. Now, these home cinema systems can cost you anywhere from $10,000 up to $100,000 plus. Very expensive. But like a lot of things in life, there is a hack that you get most of the enjoyment for a fraction of the cost. Now, I grew up with a father who was a professor of film. I've always been interested in the cinema. So we always had some kind of way of watching movies. About 10 years ago, instead of getting a big flat screen TV, instead of getting a $10,000 sound system plus. I mean, some of these speakers, the Bowers & Wilkins B&W, you could talk about anything up to $60,000 for a pair of speakers. Now, of course, the different price points, like $500 speakers, $1,000 speakers, etc. And you get your 4K TVs, etc. So what I did for an experiment was I took a $10,000 sound system and a $250 sound system. Now, for the audiophiles amongst us, yeah, there is a difference. Of course, it costs a lot more. But when you're watching a movie, you're using multiple senses. And so the energy that you're devoting, let's say, to the audio and to the visual, it's being split somewhat. So do you really need 4K? Do you really need a very expensive set of speakers? I found with the right positioning, the right audio treatments, the right acoustic setup, that you could get most of the impact that you would have got from a $10,000 system, speaker system that is, for about $250. And it gets even cheaper these days. So something like the Yamaha RX-V379, which if you look hard enough, you can probably find on eBay for something like $40 these days. This is a 5.1 surround system. And you could think about the AV receiver almost like a brain. It takes in all the images and the sound, then it basically sends them out to the speakers, which are almost like ears or your voice. You can go out and you can invest in racks and you can invest in second receivers to reduce some of the noise and the interference, and you can really splurge here. Or you can just get something like a Yamaha RX-V379 and get 99% of the enjoyment for 1% of the cost. So yes, you can invest in your Denon. You can have your Macintoshes. And look, I'm not giving out about these. They're fantastic. When you have the money, they're great. But we're looking here about how can you enjoy something like this on a budget. This is a great system for a budget when you're trying to have the same cinema experience. And the emotion, the first thing you should be putting money into is typically the speakers. And here you have it. Even with some of the speakers, you're still talking about less than $250. For full set of 5.1 speakers, You get your bass, your 5.1, so you have your central channel, your 2 front stereos, your 2 back for rear. You could go for your 7.1, you could go for the ceiling, etc. You could knock yourself out, but again, at the same time, you're trying to keep it on a budget here. You can get 95 to 99% of the enjoyment for a fraction of the cost with something like this. And as for the actual projector, like the eyes, look, there's really no need to knock yourself out on a 4K system. I would start with something like a full high definition 1080p resolution. If you have a small room, again, assuming that you're not even living in a big place because you're just you're an economy, you're looking at a budget, something with a good short throw, something that can actually have a good short throw. So that means you don't need a long distance between your projector and the wall that you're going to watch it on. By the way, you can just skip out on paying $1,000 plus for a screen. You can just use the actual wall. The paint that's on the wall is typically sufficient. Now, there will be a better contrast if you have a screen, but you're going to enjoy 98, 99% without the actual screen. So there's a free screen right there. Just use your wall. Now, this is going to be tricky if you have a wall that's got objects on it. It's not going to work too well. Or if there's like a very strange paint color combination, something like a wavy lines. But if you have a same color paint on a wall, typically a really good color is like anything that's like off-white, cream, would be the best, or yellow. But like if you have anything that's that color, that's great. Even if it's a darker color, it's typically going to come out fine with these projector systems. For those of us that have been around the block for a while, there's a lot more luminance in these modern projectors than in the past. And what that means is you don't have to have your place perfectly dark. Also, they're not as hot as they used to be. So your place is not going to heat up. The fan is not going to be too loud. So you can watch these even with some ambient light coming into the room, and it's not going to get too hot too quickly. I remember back in the 90s with some of these projectors, they were almost like a furnace, and the loudness of the fans, and you needed a complete nighttime like blackout to actually enjoy seeing them, and they weren't that crisp. And that was way back. That's even with your RGB setup. So for about $1,000, you have your speakers plus your projector. Now the projector has come down. Something like this Epson 500 Powerlite system, you can now get where it's either refurbished for maybe $400 or $500 or brand new for just over $1,000. But that's all you really need. Once you have your Yamaha and you have your projector, you're pretty much good to go. You've got most of what you'll need to enjoy a fantastic cinema experience for about $1,000 rather than $10,000. Now, some of you might be going down to Walmart or going down to other stores and buying flat screen TVs for quite a lot of money. You're not going to get the same enjoyment as you would from a massive projector system. Again, you could have, again, depending on the throw, the distance between the projector and the wall, you could have like 10 foot by 10 foot or 120, 150 inches. It really brings the cinema to life. And once you go towards it, you can never go back to your regular TVs. So for $1,000 or less, I did similar systems like this almost 9-10 years ago. So you can probably get these for a fraction of the cost right now. So now you've got a cinema system in your home. There's no need to invest in expensive chairs or anything else. Sure, you can knock yourself out, but just with these two little hacks, right? That particular projector, something similar. That particular AV system, something similar. After that, it's pennies. You don't need to knock yourself out. I have splurged on expensive wiring, on expensive cabling, on expensive systems. Yes, when you can afford it, it's great. Marginal benefit is tiny. Marginal cost is massive. Some of you might be thinking about buying gym products. It could be gloves, it could be a weight set, it could be all kinds of extra equipment. Now, this might seem smart at front. You might think, well, I'm saving the gym cost of going to the gym. Not really, because you have to take care of those products. And unless you're almost getting them given to you when someone's getting rid of them in a yard sale and they're almost on fire sale, like dirt cheap, it's going to take a long time for you to break even on what it would have cost going to a gym. Years upon years upon years. And when you go to a gym, you get access to all the latest equipment, tremendous amount of variety. There's the social aspect, etc. Now, sure, having a gym at home is good because you can save time, but it's also just nice to go out and for the social aspect, just to meet people, to talk to people, and also to exercise. These economy style gyms, something like Planet Fitness, where you got like a $15 a month membership. You could barely buy a set of gloves for $15. So it's going to take a long time. You're probably going to spend hundreds of dollars to start getting like a weights rack, a bench, squat rack, these things. It'll be a few thousand before you actually make a decent home gym. That might take decades to basically pay off in terms of going to the actual gym. When you go to the actual gym, you've got other benefits. For something like the Black Card right now, about $25 a month, you're getting access then to something like a hydro massage chairs that, otherwise you'd spend $5,000 to buy these particular chairs. And then if anything breaks, you got to fix it. So you don't have to worry about fixing it. This is the maximum cost you pay per month. So discount gyms, being able to just, enjoy that healthy lifestyle, going to the hydro massage, etc. It doesn't require a whopping amount of money to already do that, to already have something like a spa essentially for your Black Card members. So again, I'm not getting any sponsorships from Planet Fitness, but I'm just giving you a suggestion of there are these discount gyms out there where you can really enjoy for a fraction of the cost. So if you ever thought, as I did, maybe it would be cheaper to basically have your own stuff at home, it's typically not. It doesn't really work out. The cost-benefit analysis and looking at the present value and looking over time, it typically is a lot cheaper to just pay for a cheap gym membership. I'm not talking about your really expensive gym memberships. I'm talking about your discount gym memberships. So luxury living can really be cheaper than you think. And another thing that can be cheaper than you think is outsourcing. And you can feel incredibly like you're living a wealthy or rich life if you might consider outsourcing things like your shopping, like getting groceries, like deliveries, etc. Now, at first, it may not make sense, especially if your opportunity cost of time is very low. So if you're not really doing much with your time, this might be a little bit of a stretch. If you're not making much money, this might be a little bit of a stretch. But you can think about, does this really benefit me? Maybe you don't have a car. Maybe you're really, really busy. Instacart is just one example of a service that can actually be very affordable at about $10 per month, where you get very, very cheap shipping and delivery, for instance, from grocery stores, etc. So this can really save you time, and also you can feel extremely rich by doing something like this when you're not necessarily that rich. You don't have to be Beverly Hills rich to afford something like this. So this is just to show you guys that a rich lifestyle might not be way beyond the level you are currently at. Things have got very, very cheap with the new gig economy, with automation, etc. Rather than cleaning your own car, maybe getting your car cleaned. Rather than cleaning your own home, maybe getting your home cleaned, going on somewhere like Craigslist, looking for people who are willing to start helping you, let's say, with cleaning your home, etc. That can be rather effective. Every now and then, we're not talking about like a weekly or daily clean, but every now and then it can be really nice, stress-free. It can be a nice thing to treat yourself to. If that's something, maybe it's once a month or once every 6 weeks or once every 2 months, something like that can be really nice. You can look forward to having a really good clean where it's not you that's doing it and you just feel like $1 million. It's like coming into a hotel that's all cleaned up for you. So that can be really something to splurge on when you don't have a whopping amount of money. This can be something nice, depending on you. The same with the car. So I always delivered everything myself. So I never really had an Instacart until I really crossed the millionaire status, but this was something that I was surprised to discover a lot of my friends were doing when they were students. And then when I realized how cheap it was, I was shocked. So I never really had others clean my car. I used to always clean my car, do everything from scratch myself. And I was shocked at how affordable it could be and just that feeling of how well it was treated. So this is really a kind of a video again on the spending muscle and actually letting yourself free to enjoy things. Because at some point, if you're always looking at being frugal, if you're always looking at trying to save as much, it's going to stop your growth. Because you can't, if you think about Robinson Crusoe on an island doing everything for himself, he doesn't get very far. But once you start to outsource, once you start to diversify, division and specialization of labor by, for instance, Adam Smith, the father of economics, you can focus your time on things that are more productive and others can do these work for you. So cleaning a home, cleaning a car, these are just examples. Something else that can be really enjoyable to do, at least I find it enjoyable, is every so often going for a massage, just treating yourself to a massage. Now, I never had a massage for a few decades, and I would treat people that I love to a massage like once in a blue moon. I remember like treating my mother to a massage, and it was her first time. Like, it was just, wow, this is incredible. But something like that, again, it can be something that, if you do it once in a blue moon, this can be something that you really feel, wow, like that was a great use of my money. So again, that's just learning what you value. But these are just some suggestions. If you're caught up with the frugal mindset and the thrifty mindset, and you're having some issues thinking about things, you might want to dip into the water. My problem for a while was being too cheap, right? Was being too economic, was being too thrifty. Another thing you can outsource is having a virtual assistant. So wouldn't you love to buy your own time back? Because that's something that even the wealthiest people, the billionaires on the planet, the one thing they cannot buy is time, but to a certain extent, right? Because we can always have other people do some of our work and then save that time so we're not doing that work. And one of the best things you can think about doing at some point is considering hiring a virtual assistant. So for me, it got to the point where, I was running several jobs and doing so much, juggling so much. And it could be for you that you've only got one job, but it takes a lot of hours. Maybe you've got a family, you've got kids, you've got a lot of responsibilities. And you think, there's no way I can afford a virtual assistant. Like, what would I even use a virtual assistant for? Well, first of all, you probably could afford a virtual assistant. In a lot of cases, they're more affordable than you think. One of the best places to find the virtual assistants is a site like onlinejobs.ph in the Philippines. So with this particular site, you can post ads, you can look for people that are willing to work various jobs. And again, they're able to work full-time jobs or part-time jobs, typically full-time, like 8 hours a day. And depending on their experience level, what they're looking for, you could be talking $2, $3 an hour, $4 an hour, $5 an hour, up to $10 an hour plus. But really what that equates to is you're just looking at people who are saying that for about $500 or $1,000 a month, they can work full-time for you. A little bit less if it's part-time. So you could be getting $200 a month, $300 a month. Depends on what the actual skill set is, what you're looking for. But you could use this, for instance, for helping when you're doing certain administrative tasks. It could be that you're looking to get tickets, or you're looking to get airfare, you're looking to get accommodation, you're looking to do your taxes, you're looking to email people, some of your work, answering emails for you, organizing a whole bunch of stuff, especially if you've got kids. There's just a tremendous amount of stuff, like administrative stuff, that can be done virtually. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're into real estate, of course, the bigger you get, this is something that you might want to think about. But hiring a virtual assistant, you could do that earlier than you think, and it could just take off so much. It's like automation, but it's a human. So it can do so much. I'm not saying it can do your job necessarily, but it can do so much for you that can really then free you up to work on the really creative, high value things that you're doing. So these people can do whatever level it is that you're looking for them to do, depending on, of course, their skill set. But this can be cheaper than you would think. You can start this, and one of my biggest regrets is that I didn't start hiring virtual assistants until much later. And I could have saved so much time, so much less stress, so much less headache, and had much more time for my friends, for my family, for loved ones, only for the fact that I was juggling everything myself. So virtual assistant, really, stress levels can come down tremendously, and you can come up with lots of ideas about how you could utilize a virtual assistant. So that could be something that you share even with a friend if you're just starting off. Maybe you've only got $100 a month to spend in it. Maybe they've only a few hours you need for help. But anything is better, and it can really make a big difference in your life, this outsourcing. They could save you a tremendous amount of time when you're on the phone with utilities companies. Let's say you're just looking for a quote for your insurance, or you're negotiating with your insurance company, or you're ringing up your phone company, or your mobile phones provider, your internet provider, setting up an appointment to get a haircut, or you're on the phone trying to get a refund back from a train ticket or from an airfare, etc. You spend a lot of time on the phone dealing with administrative tasks that are in your personal life that could be outsourced, that someone else could be doing these tasks, freeing you up. And if someone else was able to ring around to multiple insurance companies, for instance, they could actually have the time to get you potentially a lower quote than you can yourself, because you would spend all your free time just ringing up companies, getting quotes. They can do that for you. So they actually could pay themselves. You can actually use that, in a sense, the money they save you, to pay for themselves right there. So that's just one example. And of course, that's a great way to feel like you're rich. Like you have an assistant, right? Like, and it costs a lot less than you actually would think. They can do so much for you, take a lot of stress out of your life, and it can really help you to feel rich, even when you're not fabulously wealthy. You're not paying a massive salary, and it can change people's lives, especially if it's somewhere else. And if you're looking at geographic arbitrage, where you're helping people have remote jobs, right? So they can work remotely, and they're not having to go in, they're not having to commute. A lot of people love to work at home, love to work remotely. They may be just doing it as a side gig, if it's a part-time job, etc. So it can really be a great gig for them, but also it can help you out too. In terms of saving versus spending, you get people like Dave Ramsey, conservative, kind of about cutting costs, so very much on the saving muscle, which I agree with Dave, I think that's the most important thing to work on first. But assuming that you can basically keep your spending under control, the second thing is working on the actual spending muscle and just focusing on things that can really help you with your life in terms of your emotion. And you want to try to separate somewhat the spending from emotion, right? Otherwise, you're going to be on a hamster wheel, just sort of keeping up with everything. So it's good to have a healthy balance, not too much in either. That's just my perspective on things. Again, I heavily agree with what Dave Ramsey does, and I think he's a really good benefit to a huge amount of people. At the same time, you have other people like Ramit Sethi in terms of finance, more liberal in terms of spending. He has this idea of money dials. So that is that you really want to focus on things or identify things that you love. It could be going on dates. It could be eating pizza. It could be playing chess. It could be watching movies for me. Whatever it is for you, you want to identify what, if you were able to really enjoy, would be something that you'd consider part of your rich life. Now that could be having a gym membership, having a pool membership, a spa membership, etc. So what you want to do is you want to focus on areas you just don't care about, and you want to cut costs mercilessly on these things. So looking at your budget, looking at your bank account and seeing, oh, there's these things I'm spending on. I opened up a subscription to a magazine when I was 18 and I no longer watch this, let's say Just 17 magazine or whatever it is, or The Economist, whatever you're looking at. Maybe you no longer use that and you're still spending it every month. You're not even aware that this money is going out. So like, first of all, being aware of everything that goes out. Make money work for you, not work for it. So cutting out these things mercilessly and saying, you know what, maybe you don't love cars. Okay, then don't have a car. Sell your car. If you can afford to do Uber and you're living in an area where public transport is relatively cheap and available, or you're close enough to everything and you think Instacart could work for you. But whatever it is where you're cutting costs mercilessly, it could be that you don't need that really expensive apartment. You don't really need the latest. Let's say you're living in an apartment that's really well furnished. Now, for a lot of you, I would say that that's probably one of the best things to spend on in terms of enjoyment about where you're living. Like not necessarily having to worry about the headache of owning, but actually just enjoying renting a place that's really, really nice for you. But for me, I don't need that. I can take a place and make it better. I'll talk about something now that's controversial, which is style. So if you're not interested in style, that's great. You can save a fortune. You don't care what car you drive. You don't care what clothes you wear. You don't care what your apartment looks like. You've got one light hanging from a wire in the middle of your apartment and you're living on the floor and it's all fine and you don't care. That's fine. That's great. You can keep the costs down. But what if you're the type of person that likes the actual surroundings that you're in, the clothes that you wear, the car that you drive, etc.? How can you match that by being economically thrifty? Well, the big thing is developing your own sense of style. Because if you don't have a sense of style, typically you have to outsource the sense of style to somewhere expensive. It could be that you're buying an expensive car, a BMW, a Mercedes, a Ferrari, a Rolls Royce, whatever it is. Clothing. So again, instead of going out for men like a Canali suit, or going down like a Hermes, or maybe something a little less like a Hugo Boss, basically what you're doing is you're getting nicely designed clothes and paying a lot of money for it. But if you just got ridiculously cheap clothes off the rack, the right quality material, and went to a local tailor, they could do as good, if not better, a job at making that suit match your body type. one of the revolutions or innovations of the off-the-rack clothing has meant that people were actually better dressed 100 years ago than they are now today, in most cases, because the clothing that they buy today, it's not going to suit your particular body style in most cases. So the best thing is just getting something cheap, going to a local tailor and doing that. Again, you can go further when you can afford it, but if you're trying to be thrifty, this is a great way of doing things. So looking online, figuring out what works. Maybe it's a certain model that you like their style and seeing what they wear, and then seeing what you can find like that, maybe the outlet stores, etc., getting discounts. Now, again, for me, I like the way the French, they don't have too many pairs of clothing, like 2-3 pairs of clothing sometimes, really nice clothing. And I also like the classic styles, because the classic styles mean I don't have to be changing my clothing every other season to keep up with the clothing fashions, right? So that could be leather jackets and denims for men. Again, I'm not into the female designs whatsoever, but in terms of the men designs, things like that, when you can find something that lasts, that's not going to go out of fashion too quickly. In terms of interior design, that could also be, IKEA. You can knock yourself out in IKEA. You can get things really, really good in IKEA. It could be the darks or it could be the brights. I have both. I've got dark stuff, I've got bright stuff. If you know what you're doing, you can get that great Scandinavian style and really have minimalism if you want, or other alternatives. You can have that modern sleek look if you know what you're getting. You can have that old tasteful look. I like the Peaky Blinders look. I like the Crown look. I like that classic, the burgundy, the leathers, the dark looks, etc. But it's something that you can really do. And another great tip is looking at luxury secondhand stores and getting stuff that's expensive at a fraction of the cost, or going online. So to do that, you need to look on and basically cultivate of style by figuring out what you like. This might take time, but it's well worth it, because it's a lot cheaper if you know what you like to then go and find that at a fraction of the cost. And it really becomes you. When you wear something that you really like, it can give you a tremendous sense of confidence. When you come into an apartment that you like, and again, I could live in squalor. I could live in an apartment where there's like literally a light hanging from the ceiling, but I would make it look really, really good. And I could do that at a fraction of the cost. So that was really good, because I didn't have to spend $5,000 a month in a penthouse apartment in New York. I could live somewhere a little cheaper and make it look just as good or almost as good. So having style, etc., can really help if you're trying to be thrifty. So you really want to cut costs mercilessly on things you don't care about and spend extravagantly on things that you love. You're identifying your wins. You're identifying what are the things that you would love as part of your rich life. Like, could it be that you want a certain apartment, a certain car, going to the gym, near mountains, near resorts, etc.? Could it be that it's going to a casino? Could it be that it's watching movies? For me, it was watching movies, so I could go to the Movie Pass for next to nothing. I could have a home cinema for next to nothing. If it's car hacking, if it's house hacking, so this is a bit of a bonus, but if you really want a nicer home and you can find someone to share the home with you, like a renter, etc., like when you were in college, like or when you were younger, maybe when you had a flatmate or a roommate, things like that. Maybe sharing a place, right, is a great way of getting into something that's a lot nicer. If you and your friends want to live in an amazing resort, right, or one of these incredible mansions, maybe you collectively come together and do that for a while. You rent it out as a group. It could be the same with a car. Maybe you share a car. Maybe you really want to drive a Lamborghini and you decide, okay, myself and my friends, we're going to share this Lamborghini. We're going to share this nice car. Maybe it's using credit card points for travel hacking. Maybe it's watch hacking, the fact that you can put money in some of these luxury timepieces. And to be honest, it's not like when you spend on most of these other watches, like when you spend on a luxury watch, and we're talking about Rolex, Breitling, Patek Philippe, Audemars Piguet, a lot of these brands, typically you don't lose money in these things. You put money into them and then you can keep them in those money. So you can wear that watch. Sure, you need the money up front, but once you have the money in the watch, you don't tend to lose that much money in that watch. You can roll it into the next watch. You can sell it, buy another watch, sell it, buy another watch, as opposed to some other things. So there's a different level. Okay, this is a different level up when you level up your game, but you want to level. That's the next level. If you've reached that level, great. If you haven't reached that level, that's just some more motivation. That, like a computer game, there's another level, and there's another level, and there's another level, and you will level up over time. You can hack almost anything. And once you start thinking about how to hack things, how to be able to enjoy these things for almost for free, whether it's house hacking, so having someone stay and pay your mortgage, so they're sharing with you, or sharing the rent, or sharing the car payments, you can certainly think about doing that. Maybe you got a few friends and you all want to basically buy a really nice sports car and you're going to drive it on the weekends and share it. Now you can share the cost, spread the cost. So you can hack almost anything. Like I've just shown you, you can hack a cinema, you can hack almost anything. So there you have it, folks. If you love cinema and gyms, it's much cheaper than you think to own your own home cinema. Get a cinema pass and join a discount gym. Outsourcing frees up your time and can make you feel much better. Developing your sense of style will drastically cut costs and produce similar results as going to top quality brands, both in clothing and interior design. You can live somewhere much cheaper that you do up yourself. Almost anything can be hacked, where you can enjoy it for a fraction of the cost you thought you could. So if you like this video, please consider sharing it with people you think would also benefit from it. Until next time.